Alright, let's see how well his films. I have a, so as you can see, Privateer Press sent me Ragnor. Yeah, baby. So I am going to, I'm cleaning them up. I'm just going to film a couple things that I do that I think most people don't commonly think of a way to clean a model. It's something I've just been doing a long time. I learned with plastics years ago just to easily clean some wider surfaces as opposed to scraping against. I have my arm for my lamp and sticking out right above my surface here. It's a round, lamp with a magnifying lens, pretty common use. And I have my cell phone just kind of like resting on top of the lamp facing down. But it seems to be working, so let's go ahead and do this. So right here, see if I can get the camera to focus up. Seems to be doing good, but right along here underneath his arm, there was a very faint mold line. He's very clean. His body is very, very, very clean. There are some other bits that have other bits of flash that are hanging up that are chunky from the release part, but they're really easy to clean off. But the body of him is very clean. The cool thing is on these, let's see if I find another one, but there was a line here that went all the way across, like I said. And here you got you got some muscle shape, so there's some curvature to it, and then you got the little ripple from his elbow. But right past his elbow was a line that just went all the way up along the smooth area. So instead of scraping, and when you scrape, you usually kind of can grab too much plastic, and you can cut into the model sometimes. See, I'll just do it here and ruin it a little bit, and I'll go back and fix it later, but actually I'm not ruining anything, so bad example. But when you have a mold line that's in an area like this where it's really kind of open and you just want to clean it, it's not in the middle of like a whole bunch of detail. Instead of taking the blade and slicing into the plastic, which when you slice into the plastic, sometimes you can work your way into the plastic a little more and cut deeper and actually damage the model, and you got a little bit extra work to go back and clean up. What I do, and I've been doing some plastic models for a long time, it's kind of a known thing, but a lot of people, especially that are new to the hobby, which is perfect for these battle boxes, new to the hobby, they're going to go cut into the plastic and they're not going to know these little tricks that we've been doing for years. So instead of cutting into the model with the blade, with like the point of the blade, take the blade, and what you're going to want to do is scrape it backwards over the line. And like I said, I already did this here, but what this does, you can see there's some shavings right there. What it does is it doesn't cut into the model, and it just kind of, it takes that mold line and whittles it down a bit and really flattens it out and smooths it to the surface and the contours of the model. So let me take a look on this other side and see if there's another one for me to do. Actually, you know what? Right here, on top of his shoulder pad, let's see if I can get that into focus. Top of his shoulder pad, there's a little faint line right there, and that's perfect for this. So you take your blade and you go against it. You use the opposite direction of your blade, and now that smooth contour of his shoulder pad, where there was a mold line, is very, very smooth, and there's no other damage to that part of it, which is a really soft, looks like it's a leather strap. So you don't want to cut in there. You want to be accidents. You want to keep it nice and smooth and round. Now here in the corner, in this little crevice, you're going to have to get in there. But what I like to do is I don't just like to stick the blade in there and scoop it out. I'll start it here on the edge and I'll push through one side, twisting the blade, which helps keep this little crevice a crevice. It keeps the shape there and protects the model as you're cleaning out little smaller cracks like that. So let's see, I'll just keep cleaning this little guy up, but I'm going to keep on filming here until my phone says I have run out of space. But after I clean this guy, I'm going to go ahead and leave a bunch of pictures up and show you guys what I did when I got done here. Now there is a little bit of a tricky mold line here on top of his bicep. And that's really only because his arm comes up like a fist pump, like this. So you got his you got his forearm coming up and curling, so the muscles made a nice little pocket in there. and the mold line goes into that. So it's kind of a tricky spot to get out. So what you want to do is you want to get your point of your blade right in there. And just like I did here in this little crevice, get your point in there and just kind of twist and scoop that line. Because again, you don't want to cut into the plastic too much, because once you start cutting into the plastic, the blade will naturally want to keep going into the plastic, which can damage it further. So just get the tip in there and go slow at it and just kind of give it some little twists. Most people wouldn't care, to be honest with you. Most people would just cover it over and not think too much about it. However, I know it's there, so I'm going to clean it out. I clean everything, but that's me. That's my OCD problem. I will clean the hand that holds the shield that you'll never be able to see behind or even attempt to paint. So, right there. If you hear me blowing, that's what I'm doing. I've got the little flecks of plastic on the model that I'm scraping off, and I'm just kind of blowing them off my blade or blowing them off the model. So let's see here. You can see I'm still doing that kind of twisting method because I don't want to cut. Like I said, you don't want to cut into the model, which is what the blade will want to do. Now, if you're pretty confident in the way you control the blade, you can go ahead and do that scraping that I was talking about on smaller areas. You have to be careful, though, because to do this and have a little more control, you have to have the blade right up against your finger, and you can cut yourself. I've done numerous eviscerations on my hand, all in the name of tiny plastic men. Alright, see right here as I'm talking about my OCD, this is actually the part where the hand is going to go, but I am still going to clean it and make it as smooth as possible because I want that hand socket to be flush as much as can be in there. So that's cleaned pretty good. Now, this is where the hand is going to go, right in here. As you can see, there's a little groove they have, so you know exactly the orientation the hand will go. There's no figuring out how it's going to twist. You can, twist it however you want. However, for ease of assembly, they do have a little groove there, and there is a little notch inside of the socket here. So it'll line up, and boom, that's its snug spot right there. So I am actually going to, and again, this is something most people don't do because it is a ball and socket, and that's a good hold. But I like to score everything. And what I mean by scoring, if you look down here on my mat, you see how it's checkered, going this way, and then you have lines going this way. What I'll do for these models, where the pieces come together, I do what's called scoring. When you put a model together and you have these smooth surfaces, when it comes to super glue, the super glue physically only makes one connection surface when it's a smooth spot like this. So if you take your blade and you score the model, which is just adding lines, just like my mat down here, you're going to add these lines in one direction on the touch surface spot here. So right now, all these lines on his arm are going to go this way. And what I'm going to do on his hand is I'm going to make it so all the lines go this direction. Now what this does, like I said, normally it would make one smooth, solid surface connection with the super glue. But when you when you put these score marks in here, what that's actually doing is it's actually adding multiple surfaces. So it just increases the bond that the super glue is going to have. So in between each of these little scratches or score marks that I made, that's going to be a connection, 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 so on and so forth. So now when I put this on the other side and I put these, how did I do it here? So this way, I want to have my lines go this way. So now when I score in here, what I'm actually going to be doing is doubling even further the surface connections that I'm going to be having with the super glue when I put it together. So that's just something I like to do. I'm pretty OCD about it. The last thing I like is to have my models all painted on the game table, and then just because I didn't take the time to score the miniature, the hand fell off or something like that, and now I've got this big chip in my paint, and I'm going to have headaches and be up all night about it and blah, blah, blah. So let's see here. So his arm's done there. Going up here on his cloak, there is just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Like I said, his body is pretty clean. What I was looking at on all the other, models that Privateer Press brought into the office is anything that was a little bit bigger and a little bit rounder, anything that had a little more organic lines or shapes to it, had very little, if none, or if any at all, flash or mold lines, or if it did, they were very manageable. There wasn't a whole lot of excess to them. There, you can hear me. I'm scraping. I'm going the reverse way here. This one piece is just not wanting to come off. One little thing, and as you can see, it's making, when it does, when you do it this way, it makes all these little flecks that go everywhere. So I blow as much as I can, get it out of my visibility. But when you go backwards like this with the plate, it's very safe for the model. Again, it's all about when you're cleaning a miniature, the last thing you want to do is cut into it further and create yourself a lot of work, having to use green stuff or something like that. I don't want to use any green stuff, and from what I've seen in the preliminary little assemblies here, I'm not going to have to use any green stuff at all. I just don't know what to do for the base, though. I think I'll just put a piece of tape or some wood in there and just solid it up and do up just a standard base with some sand and stuff for this guy, because I'm going to paint him pretty basic and do some simple washes and maybe some dry brushing on things, and maybe do some very little OSL effects here in all of his runes. He's a very cool model. I really like all these runes on him and his giant hammer here. Very cool model. Very cool model. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to cleaning this guy, and when I have some, I'm going to clean all the pieces, and then I'm going to start assembling him. So let me go ahead and get him all cleaned up, all his pieces cleaned up, and I'll be back with another little video to show you guys how to assemble. Thanks for watching.